Hello. I wanted to do a quick summary of the default, essentially setting the board for Space Lab on defense, just for newer players to maybe help latch them onto some of the concepts of map control and the importance of utility. I've seen a lot of new players in my games recently, so maybe this will be useful to some people. But if you've played for a while, it's very basic knowledge, so feel free to skip. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. I think one of the key important factors of playing Space Lab is bringing the right utility. I think grenade choice is probably even almost more crucial than character choice to some players or some roles. So I'm just going to briefly go over some of the roles and maybe starting positions or what some of their overall job is. So I'm going to start with the first player, your primary ramp player that plays a ramp. Here we have Kokona. You know, your grenade choice can vary, but I would say that whoever your primary player is, as long as it's a long gun or Audrey or somebody who can actually engage from one of the few very long range components of the map of a map. I think you absolutely need the interceptor. I think as the match starts, you just throw your interceptor here because the attackers are going to want to push a ramp, and I'll explain why later. But essentially, your long gun just pokes at them and tries to buy time as they move up into sight. Their job isn't super complicated, but you have to be able to buy time. So I would say that the windstorm grenade for stopping their push here on the ramp is absolutely vital. You need absolutely to at least have one windstorm grenade on a ramp. I think even having two isn't problematic. So that's pretty much their job, is to just play ramp, defend ramp, buy as much time as you can for your team. Then you have the A support with a very similar loadout. And again, the characters don't necessarily matter, but you can't go wrong with Michelle. So, interceptors are always good on defense. I don't like dying to frag grenades, so I think, that's always good. Having a second wind grenade to buy even more time is fantastic. And frags, you can do a lot of damage with your frag grenades in this little, the actual ramp itself plays pretty well to that. So, and then this player is also a key component to supporting mid. Mid is probably the most important part of the map, followed by, in my opinion, I guess A ramp. But you absolutely can't lose control of mid. If you lose control of mid, you pretty much lose the round. So this player is supporting your primary player. If they push this hard, you're gonna go here, and then your mid player will probably push up and try to alleviate some of this pressure. So that's kind of the support A player's job, is to kind of watch the fights and see where they need to be and what they can do to slow down the enemy team. Now, as we move to the third player, this probably needs to be your best duelist, your best gun on your team comp. Probably should be your mid player. I think it's kind of the hardest role to play. And Flavia is probably the main duelist on defense, if I had to say. So I'm assuming she's a good choice for this. But I have her here with frag grenade and slow grenade. The slow grenade can be good to buy time, or even just the ability to not paper on the ramp. But as the pressure starts to go and mount on people and people move up, a lot of times this player can move up here to try to alleviate some additional pressure from A ramp. They have another angle, and if you've ever played the window here, you know that you're going to be getting a lot of pressure. So once you know where your mid player is going, the two nearest players to you, Michelle and Madalena here, are going to have to peel and move as the fight dictates. A lot of times this player will move here, and then I think that allows Madalena to push up and play pillar. I think pillar is a key part of this map. And if this player here notices that, okay, they're all going mid, they're pushing up and jumping up here, then you have some support coming in to assist with the fight on mid. I think that, you know, peeling for your mid player and not letting them get called out is something I want to see. I want to see more of. I think that the meta kind of needs to develop more in mid play. But so yeah, this player's job is to either, oh, she got wide there, either try to cause extra pressure from here or potentially go on a flank if they need to. But this is probably the key, you know, one of the most important roles on the map. And then you have your B connector player. This player absolutely needs to bring a windstorm grenade, which they can use to block off either here or here. This is vital, probably non-negotiable. The interceptor is a maybe, you know, but your decision making is either going to be, are they rushing B, or does my player need help? My mid player need help. So one of the most important things that this player here can do is not show. They need to not give away their location, because to some degree Strinova is a numbers game, and if you give away your location, it lets them make smarter decisions on how to push the sites. So this player's job is to, like I said earlier, to push up into pillar and help support the players and plays going on in mid. Or if they're getting pushed directly, to use their windstorm grenades to buy time for their peel, for other players to come and assist you and buy more time. So you always got to know where your nearest teammate is, and you should not try to take 1v1s if you can. So their job is, you know, mostly just to peel, and if you're getting directly pushed, buy time with your windstorm grenade. This player's job is very similar, played slightly different. It's a little safer if you wait for information from your B connector player, but once again, I think the windstorm is absolutely a necessity. So ultimately, you're kind of going to slink along here if it's safe after you got a call out, and kind of you can watch the same lane. If this player's here, you're kind of watching B now. So, and if they push you directly, same kind of thing. You have windstorm grenade. Just buy yourself time. I'd say back here is probably better, and this will hopefully buy time for the other players to rotate in and assist you. As I said, I think that the team composition isn't nearly as important as like the grenade setup, but obviously pick good characters. So another aspect I kind of want to go over, I did briefly, but I think the two most important roles on this are your A ramp player and your mid player. These two players and how they're getting pushed or interact kind of dictates how the team moves. And this guide is only really for setting the board. How can you kind of like default your positioning and what your job is? So, and then something I think too I mentioned is you really don't want to take team fights, or you don't really want to take 1v1s if you don't have to. But another crucial component is that if somebody gets a pick and people are already moved up, really the play is to deal with them, is to take the team fight, because the only thing I can really compare it to is Overwatch. But in Overwatch, the statistic was something like 80%, where the team that has a one-man advantage, a 5v4, or, you know, whatever the case may be, whoever has the advantage has almost a 80% chance of winning the team fight if everybody engages it correctly. So I think in this game that's very, very true. I think that people play too passive. So I think that if you see a teammate get a pick or a teammate fighting, as long as they're not in a, you know, 1vx where there's not enough of you to actually take it, it might not be the best to engage it. But the kind of circling back a bit as well, I apologize that the organization isn't a little better, but one of the important reasons that your B players don't want to show is because your A players, your attackers are going to be counting. They should be counting where they see the players. So if I'm Ming and I can confirm that there's 4 people on the A ramp, the call is literally to rotate into mid or rotate into B, because we know that 4 players are here and the 5th one might be rotating. So, you know, you can take a 5v1, right? So you're going to go into mid or you're going to rotate out. So by showing your hand early, you know how many players are where, and that gives the attackers even more of an advantage of they just push, they death ball you, or essentially all stick together and push the side that has fewer players. So there's a symmetry component to this map. Um, but as far as just basics of setting the board and how the map is played, hopefully that is helpful. I may try to make more detailed content or more scripted things, but let me know if it's helpful. I will probably work on something else next. But thank you. Have a nice day.